This is VSiN PrimeTime. Live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Keep it rolling. Halfway point of VSiN Primetime alongside JBT. I'm Tim Murray. Tom Byrne from SiriusXM's Mad Dog Radio going to join us coming up bottom of the hour. Lakers and Mavericks are one of our games of the night here on VSiN Primetime, and it's been living up to it. Luka Doncic, 31 first-half points, goes over his player prop, but the Lakers only lead right now by 2 early in the third quarter of a very important game from a playoff standpoint. Very important game for me personally. The Washington Wizards taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. And, Zach Cohen, I was talking to him off air, and he said, are you hoping for, more lottery balls for the Wizards? Because I'm from D.C. I'm like, no. Got the under, man. I don't care about that. Not that it changes. I think, the bottom 3 teams all get 14% chance?
Yes.
At Cooper Flag?
Yep.
So right now the Sixers lead 93-84 because he's sharp and I'm not. You are already home on that win total. I need one more loss from the Washington Wizards there. So a whole lot going on. JVT is watching his beloved Los Angeles Angels as well on the road at the Tampa Bay Rays, 4-3.
The 3 runs, courtesy all of Oppo shots for the Angels. How about that?
How, I don't know if you've been keeping track of it. Today was the first, because we do have 2 Major League Baseball teams playing home games in minor league baseball stadiums this year. Today was the first time in Sacramento we got an under, as the final score of the A's game was 2-1 earlier this afternoon. Have you been keeping track of it? It was the Padres over the A's 2-1. Have you been keeping track of the totals as we get another homer, and it is another Oppo shot, 5-3. The Rays take extend their lead. Yandy Diaz solo shot to right field.
To answer your question, yes, we've been keeping track of it, and it's worth talking about. And we finally saw the market react today. The total closed 9.5 yesterday
in Tampa.
No,
Sacramento.
Sacramento.
Okay.
And yesterday the total closed 8. So we saw, and obviously pitchers are a big part of that too. But just to see a little bit of a change there when you're talking about the way the market was pricing these totals, I don't know yet what I want to make of this, because these overs, I think that, like, in the games that I have watched and from what I've seen, I think it more has to do with poor pitching than it has to do with the ballpark. I mean, for example, in the Cubs series, the A's weren't really contributing to those games going over the total, right? It was the Cubs that were bludgeoning them over the head over and over again. So I do wonder if we're maybe just getting, hey, they're playing in Sacramento in a minor league park, and the first 5 games just happen to go over the total, or if this is, hey, this ballpark's an absolute nightmare, and this is going to be batting practice for these hitters in a minor league park. I don't know yet. And obviously, sample size is too small right now to make a declarative statement. And you know me, like I'd want to sit back and see the sample size grow to see whether or not this is actually a thing for Sacramento right now.
Well, it's funny because I mentioned earlier in the show, I went out to the Aviators Stadium, the AAA team here in Las Vegas. Obviously, they are not hosting the A's, even though they're their AAA team. They could not. Well, I'll ask you this question. Is it because the stadium, everything flies out of there, or because it's 120 degrees in the summer?
I think it's a mix of both, but it's like your totals for those games. You and I talked a little bit about this yesterday. They would be like 13.5.
Yeah.
They would be very high, because not only is it the way that the park is built, there's also a wind tunnel. So if you go out, like if you look at, I think it's from left to right, so out to right field, a wind tunnel gets created. So it tends to carry balls out. For a while when they were setting minor league totals, those were getting set at like 11.5 or so. like that was a quite the experience. And, you've been out there, obviously just said, there's some high scoring affairs out there because of the way that park hits. So I think a lot of it does have to do with heat. Like, you're not going to play day games in 112 degree weather in baseball. But I also think a lot of it has to do with that park too. And you can't adjust it. You can't move things back the way it's constructed. You're right up against the hockey facility too. So it's just not tenable for a baseball park, but it would have been fun to watch them play out there, because those would have been some ridiculous games.
I mean, the stadium's awesome for those, for anyone coming to town. I mean, the ballpark's beautiful, and It's going to stay there, right? They're going to keep the AAA, I assume, once the A's come to town.
I believe so. Yeah,
that would be a unique situation. We don't get that in really many other ballparks, or many cities, I should say, across the country. All right, 66-60 is the score. Lakers with the lead over the Dallas Mavericks, now 69-60. So Lakers on a little bit of a run here as Jason Kidd calls a timeout. Still to come tonight, our other game of the night, and we've got some love for the Sacramento Kings, as Zach Cohen just talked about. He likes the Kings in this spot, JVT, catching the 4.5 against Denver. We did see movement towards the Denver Nuggets here. Open 1, now out to 4.5. What did you make of this one? Do you buy into the fired coach bump, or are you just more curious to see how the Nuggets play it out tonight?
No, I'm with Zach here on, I think this is just a little too high for Sacramento. Look, the Kings aren't a particularly great team, but they have upside on offense. They have two good isolation and individual scorers, and they are a team that I think can go after a Nuggets squad that has really struggled on defense. We're talking about these like recent stretch of games for some of these teams. Denver is a team that over that same stretch that Zach was talking about since the beginning of March is 8-11, but more importantly, 23rd in defensive efficiency, giving up 120.4 points per 100 possessions in non-garbage time. They're not a team that's going to shut anybody down. So to ask that team then go on the road, a Kings team that still has stuff to play for here, and all of a sudden fix what's going on defense. Like, I don't think it was really a coaching thing. Malone said it when he got fired, the day before he got fired, right? When he was talking about, like, I'm asking these guys to play defense, and they're not doing it. Yeah. So is that all of a sudden going to change? Maybe, but I don't think that's the case. I also think it's a flawed team too. So I think it's a little high. 4.5 seems a little bit too much. So I would take 4.5 here with Sacramento, and I'll put a little something on this so I can have an evening sweat. But Kings plus 4.5, the bet for me.
So big picture, when you look at the Western Conference playoffs right now, as you mentioned, Denver 47-32 play tonight against Sacramento. Sacramento locked in to the play-in. Will they be hosting the 9-10 game, or will they be on the road? That's still to be determined, as Dallas is just a game back, but they cannot get to the 8th spot, which is occupied by Minnesota at this point in time at 46-33. So the unique wrinkle we obviously have going into the Western Conference playoffs, which we'll know come Sunday what this bracket will look like, JVT.
So excited.
Is that Memphis and Denver are both without their coaches. Yep. And I was listening to Zach Lowe. Welcome back, Zach Lowe. We missed you on his podcast earlier today. And he said,
Matt Moore.
Yeah, with Matt Moore.
I'd say friend of the show.
And the unique thing was that Zach pointed out, he's like, usually when you fire a coach, the season's over. Well, you've got two situations where you got the Grizzlies and the Nuggets with identical 47-32 records. Will you be looking to go against these teams come the playoffs, or are you really evaluating them here these final couple of games, and maybe it isn't just a blind fade of the teams that fired their coaches?
Styles make fights in the NBA postseason. So if there is a matchup that really works in favor of the Denver Nuggets, I think that's going to be something you can look at. They still have, in any series, they have the best player on the floor.
Yep.
And that's going to go a long way. And the good thing going for them, too, is this is a coaching staff that has some very solid depth to it, if you will. David Adelman, their new interim coach.
They speak of him in reverence.
Yes, right. Like and obviously has the bloodline with it too, but now he is, of course, going to take over as the interim. He was his lead assistant. He's the guy that filled in with for Malone when he would have to miss games as well. He is, by all accounts, their offensive coordinator too. So I think that this is going to be one where you're still evaluating Denver. Like Gil asked me a similar question here today when I was on a numbers game, and my thought was like, look, if you liked Denver coming in, outside of maybe not trusting Adelman in the minute moments of coming out of bounds, actually like winning at the margins, things like that, I don't know why getting rid of Malone would change the way you feel about Denver either way. So I still think this is a team with some good upside. They still have Nikola Jokic. So I don't know if I'm looking to actively fade them because of where they're at with their front office and everything that's happening. Memphis, on the other hand, I think is just a flawed team. So I was going to look to go against them regardless, not because of the firing, but just because I think they're not good. And I think you're still believing in Denver if you believe in them.
I mean, look. I mean, if you had to make a guess right now, and obviously a lot can still happen with the standings there, and right now Memphis is
Kyron Paris just went yard again, baby. Second shot of the night. This kid's legitimate, dude. It's his 5th homer of the season. He's freaking awesome.
Are you mad that you don't have them on your fantasy
No,
team?
I just I just keep going back to, and I did bet them over their win total. I just, not to interrupt our conversation here.
That's fine.
But I think they're like a legitimate offense. I think they're an above average offense. We're seeing it here in the early going. They have some interesting young pieces, Ohapi, Paris, some other, like, they're not devoid of talent. If they could just stay healthy, I think the Angels are a team that's just going to be a pain in the ass. And like we're seeing it here, like they won't go away. What are we at, top of the 8th inning?
What was their win total?
71.5.
Okay.
So I think they're going to be pretty good. And if guys like Paris are legit, like, holy smokes, 5 homers already for the year. Aaron Judge has 6. I believe that's still the league league leader right now.
By the way, as we've been talking, the Lakers have gotten off to a really impressive third quarter start here. They lead 78-65. Live total, or live line, I should say, is 11.5 right now for the Los Angeles Lakers. So a 13-point lead for LA right now over the Dallas Mavericks, and Luka Doncic in his return has already gone over his point total, as he has 35 points. So timeout on the floor. Lakers up by a baker's dozen right now over the Memphis Grizzlies. Hey, folks, just a reminder, we got a great deal going with the Masters starting tomorrow. You can read all that content, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, NFL draft, all that content you can access with our summer special for just $59 all the way through August 1st. That includes the exclusive betting splits over on VSiN.com, courtesy of DraftKings and Circa, expert analysis, betting systems, everything we have to offer. VSiN.com/subscribe. You could also get access to all of our video content, which you can use on the VSiN Watch app. So media timeout in Dallas, 78-65. The Lakers have extended their lead. They have outscored the Mavericks to start the third quarter, 18-8. 11.5-point favorites on the live line now are the Los Angeles Lakers. JVT, are you tweeting something out?
No.
Oh. At me, JVT. Make sure you check it out. We'll talk more about the night still to come in the NBA. I've got a question for JVT regarding his beloved Angels, too.
This is VSiN Primetime on VSiN, the sports betting network.
It is VSiN Primetime. We'll talk to Tom Byrne coming up here at the bottom of the hour from SiriusXM's Mad Dog Radio. He's got some NBA thoughts, I'm sure. Always enjoy jumping on Tom's show on SiriusXM. It's a fun program to jump on. That's JVT. I'm Tim Murray. JVT, during the break, you're working hard on a little workshop over there, Photoshop. What'd you make?
It's a great Kyron Paris meme. It's absolutely fantastic. Go look at it. Me, JVT, the GOAT, Kyron Paris. Man, I can't wait till they are just rolling out a AAA lineup in like June, and all of this was for nothing. It's going to be so good.
So you asked the question because you are a Clippers fan, you are an Angels fan, and this past January, for me, when I had the opportunity, once Notre Dame beat Georgia, I immediately booked a flight to Miami. I'm like, I'm going to the Orange Bowl, going to see them play Penn State. So where are you on the Clippers? At what round are you going to be looking?
Oh, I'm not talking about that.
Come on. Why not?
No.
It's just me and you and me. No one else is listening.
Yeah, let's get in there
Come
first.
on.
Let's watch
Have a little fun.
Have a little fun.
First round?
Tim, 2 years ago, with near tears in my eyes because Harlabah Vulgaris was trying to crap on Ty Lue because Ty Lue wasn't watching the score in the middle of a game on a final day in the regular season and tanking on purpose, but then not tanking because they were playing the Phoenix Sun. It was ridiculous, the kind of criticism was. And him and Kevin O'Connor, who is now at Yahoo. Yeah, don't worry. I never forget these things. Oh, these moron Clippers. Now they got to play the Suns. They're going to get smoked. And they went out there and beat the absolute crap out of the Suns in the first game. They were up 1-0. They were great. Ran to my wife's room, woke her up, was like, screw Harlebob Vulgaris, they don't know anything. And she's like, who is Harlebob Vulgaris? Why are you screaming at me? And then they went on to lose the series because Kawhi got hurt. You and I sat together and watched the vast majority of that Jazz series in the Western Conference semifinals, where they beat the tar out of the Jazz that year too. They were great. They made it to the Western Conference finals. And then what happened? You and I think were on the air.
We were.
When Kawhi left that game when he got injured, I woke up the next morning to news that he was going to be out. You knew that he wasn't going to come back. And then a week later, I'm in a Buffalo Wild Wings in L.A. watching the Clippers get smoked by the Suns in the Western Conference Finals, and it wasn't any fun. I don't want to look ahead. I don't want to do anything. I will just live in this tiny little moment and see. We watched last year when they went up against the Dallas Mavericks, where everybody was, they got a chance. And they went out there and they were up, despite the fact that Kawhi did not play. And we know how that series ended. I have been teased too often. I will make no plans for the future when it comes to the Los Angeles Clippers. I refuse to do it. And if you can't tell that it burns me deep down inside, it does.
Yeah, but what round would you go?
Never. I'm not going to do it.
NBA Finals?
Refuse to bring it up.
Got to go to the finals.
If that's what you would do, it makes a lot of sense. I refuse to be excited about anything.
He's excited. He is.
I mean, I'm not really that excited. I'm very excited
well
for the
right now.
Look, for the postseason, I'm very excited in general. The Western Conference looks actually. I take that back. Both conferences in the first round look absolutely tremendous. Knicks Pistons is going to be a crap ton of fun to watch if that's the first round series we get.
Pacers Bucks. I was
going to say Pacers Bucks looks absolutely incredible. Every single one of the first round matchups in the Western Conference looks absolutely tremendous. 1 through 8, if the top 8 we expect to get in there. Let
me ask you this real quickly.
The postseason I am excited for in general because it looks like it's going to be great.
I think if it's Memphis, Oklahoma City, I'll be
smoked.
Not that excited.
Yeah, stick a fork in them. We're done.
If it's Minnesota OKC, could you see Jordan, a.k.a. Anthony Edwards, as we crowned him last year? Could he show up there? Or is this OKC team you've already talked about it a number of times. You believe it, and I would too. This OKC team seems to be on another level of any other team in the West. And maybe we would try to talk ourselves into a situation there where OKC would get tested by Minnesota. But when you're facing a guy like Anthony Edwards, maybe. But if it's Memphis versus Oklahoma City, I might have to go a series price there. I think it might be a sweep.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. I think it would be a very quick series. Here's the thing: the Grizzlies' half-court offense stinks. There is not anybody that John Morant is going to be able to pick on in half-court scenarios that he's going to be able to go after. They're going to be able to shut him down and shut that valve off. That's going to be a quick series. So Memphis is fine. I really don't hope that neither the Kings or the Mavericks make it in because I just don't want to have to watch that over the course of 4 or whatever amount of games. But as we're talking about, of the projected 8 teams, 7 of them look like they're just going to be pretty good teams making it into the postseason in the Western Conference. So very excited to see that. And it also depends, because we keep asking this question, like, can Team X push the Thunder? What's your definition of push? Humans and I talked about this yesterday. I asked him, what's your definition of make them sweat? I think was the term he used. He's like, like 6 games. I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, yeah. Then we saw the Hawks do that to the Celtics a couple of years ago where they pushed them to 6 games. And then in that 6th game looked like maybe they were going to push them to 7 and ultimately they let go of the rope. So, yeah, I mean, there's a couple of teams that can make them sweat a little bit.
Is there a comparison? I'm trying to think of recent memory, a comparison to this Oklahoma City team in this regard. And I would compare it a little bit to the finals we had 2 years ago where Denver played Miami. And at that point, everyone was like, oh, Miami, Jimmy Butler, they're going to get him. And you and I and many others here on the network all were like, no, this is not going to be a thing. I remember I was on the air with Mike Somich, and both he and I think the night of Game 1 of the NBA Finals played a double result. Win Game 1, win the series. I think it was like minus $1.50 or whatever it was. Is Oklahoma City amongst the masses, right? Because that's about what we're about to embark on, right? The general public's about to dive in, and there's going to be a lot of, and I'm sure, JVT, I'm going to be sending you tweets. Also, another thing that I like to do is send JVT tweets of ignorant things that are said on networks.
Oh, you mean like how ESPN successfully converted Alex Ovechkin, setting the all-time record for goals in a career to a LeBron legacy topic?
Yes.
That was incredible.
With PK Subban chiming in and saying that
honestly, you have to
Kobe's better than LeBron.
Yeah, you have to respect them. And by the way, thanks for Moneyline Marv. Thanks for checking in and reminding me. Yes, I do remember the collapse in the bubble against the Denver Nuggets for the Los Angeles Clippers, in which they were up 3-1. And, of course, PG.
That was long enough ago. You don't remember it.
That team, too. Man. But that year, I'm telling you. You're right. With the year, I think it was the
City teams.
Those were great. Don't remind me. There's a couple of 3-1 blown leads there too.
Doc Rivers.
Still remember watching Paul George get his hand caught in the jersey. I'm like, oh, yep, that's a broken thumb. Okay, that's great. I think it was that year. I can't remember if it was after the bubble or before, but there was a year where Kawhi they had to play the Mavericks. I think it was Luka Doncic, and they went out there. They were down 3-2. They went to Dallas. Kawhi dropped like 50. They were great. Came back, won the last 2 games of the series, and then eventually flamed out. It's been great. It's been a lot of fun.
But do you think there's going to be a point where there's just going to be if it's the Lakers, if it's the Warriors against...
Is there going to be a point where you just put yourself out of your misery? No, Tim, I'm not that sad.
We're not going to get that dark on this show. We get dark, but not that dark. But are we ever going to get... odds makers aren't dummies, but could we get this Oklahoma City team on sale at all at any point?
Well, it depends on what you mean by sale. I would say that if they play the Lakers, it's probably going to be a slightly watered down price, especially after what we just watched the Lakers do in 2 games against them. We watched them go out there and beat them in the first game and then push them in the second. And it was a 1-point game, if I remember correctly, when Luka Doncic got ejected. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people will hang on to that. I think a lot of people would, maybe push aside the fact that the Lakers shot 55% from 3 in the game that they won on Sunday night and maybe ignore that aspect of that big victory. They still won. It was 126-99, something like that. So,
they smoked them.
So to your point, like, depends on what you mean.
And
the Thunder are going to be favored. There's no question about that. The question is to what degree and what is a palatable price for you.
Well, here's the thing, right? If the Lakers are playing the Warriors right now, by the way, Lakers playing the Thunder, beg your pardon. 83-76, under a minute to go in the third quarter. Lakers have a 7-point lead right now over the Mavericks. If the Lakers are the 3 seed, they will have won 2 playoff series. And you'll definitely get that buy-in of this Lakers team. So to your point, maybe we do get a little bit of a watered-down price. We'll see how it all plays out.
That's the other part. That's a big discussion when you talk about like the championship game in college hoops, right? Mm-hmm. When we were sitting on that Saturday, the Final Four, and you have those projected point spreads, a lot of that also has to do with the form. Like I had made the case, if Auburn smokes Florida, they're probably not catching nearly 5.5 against Duke, and especially if Duke barely gets by Houston, probably closer to 4. So that also is a very big factor. What do these teams look like if and when they meet?
Tom Byrne's going to join us here in just a little bit. We'll get his thoughts on the NBA card. As always, love checking in with Tom. Just a reminder, you can always check in on VSiN, courtesy of the VSiN Watch app. You can watch, you can listen, you can check out show replays. You can download it via the app stores on Apple Play or the App Store or Google Play. Final couple of seconds in the third quarter. Lakers with a 83-76 lead over the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic well over his total already with 38 points. Tom Byrne from SiriusXM's Mad Dog Radio. He'll join us on the other side, talk a little NBA with Tom. It is VSiN Primetime.
This is VSiN Primetime on VSiN, the sports betting network.
It is VSiN Primetime alongside Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Tim Murray. Start of the fourth quarter in Dallas, 83-76. Lakers with a 7-point lead. Luka Doncic, 38 points through the first 3 quarters. 31 in the first half, cashing his over total in the first half. Once again, that's JVT. I'm Tim Murray. JVT, before we get to our guest, thank you, sir. A tip of the cap to you. It was you who put me on to the Washington Lizards under, and it has officially cashed for your boy.
I didn't know that's why you bet it.
Yeah, cool. 122-103 the final score. Sixers beat the Wizards, and they have now officially hit their under on their season win total. Got a little sweaty at times there, but the Philadelphia 76ers riding a 12-game losing streak, win by 19 tonight. Speaking of Philly, let's head to Philadelphia and welcome in our good friend Tom Byrne from SiriusXM's Mad Dog Radio. And Tom, as you are about to hit the airwaves here in just a little bit, Lakers and Mavericks, a fascinating scene tonight as Luka getting cheered. He's crying during the video there, welcoming him back, and then he goes for a 31 spot in the first half. But the Lakers still kind of meandering a little bit. 3-point game early in the fourth quarter. When you look at this Lakers team, if they do land on the 3 spot, how realistic do you think their shots are to make a run in the Western Conference playoffs?
Well, listen, I mean, they got Luka and LeBron. LeBron might not be old LeBron. Vintage LeBron would be in the MVP conversation every year. This isn't that, but he's still one of the better players in the league. We know Luka just dragged the Mavericks just a year ago to the finals. We know how great he is. Now, look, they're going to have some issues. The defense, which had been great prior to the groin injury for LeBron, has shown its warts again. You know, as great as Luka is offensively, defensively he's bad, so he's going to be hunted down like a wounded dog in the switches. You guys know how the NBA playoffs are run. And so, you know, I don't know that I could take them. I take them seriously, but it's all relative. Do I think they're going to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder like a lot of other people want to convince themselves because the Lakers beat them the other night? No, I do not. No, and I don't think it goes 7 games either.
Yes, I would agree. What I like, Tom, is when the Lakers lose 4 out of 5 games, we sleep. But then they win 4 out of 5 games, and it's like, oh, whoa, hey, look at this team. It's they're legit. All right, so let me ask you, what would I need to do, used car salesman pitch, to get you to buy into my Los Angeles Clippers?
Well, you'd have to convince me first and foremost that Kawhi Leonard's going to remain healthy for the entirety of the run. And I will say this. I do think I told you guys this last I was on. They're kind of lying in the weeds a little bit because of the Clippers. Nobody's talking about them. If you put them in a Laker uniform, everybody would be talking about them. Harden takes a lot of grief. I saw a lot of them up close and personal here in Philly. You know, he had some great games. It's unfortunate for Harden. When he plays poorly, we put a microscope on it. When he plays well in the postseason, nobody says boo about it. He's had, you know, let's be fair, a lot of good performances. He just has way too many clunkers. It's still hard to take him all that seriously. But I give them just as good a chance as I do most of the teams in the West that I hear discussed. And, you know, I hate to say it, like Houston, for example, they're a 2 seed. I don't take them seriously at all. So for me, it's Oklahoma City. I don't want to act like this is Warriors and Cleveland back in the day, right? With LeBron going every single year out of the East and Steph and the Warriors going every single year out of the West. I still think, even though all of us are fixated on the West and, oh, what a fun trip it's going to be, and even to a lesser extent, Celtics and Cavs, we're still waiting for Celtics and Thunder. That's my mindset.
So when you look at the Eastern Conference, Cavs are going to be the 1 seed, obviously. Look, power rating wise, Celtics, are the Celtics 1 or a Thunder 1, JVT?
I mean, I think it depends. Tom, it's a question I had for you too, but I would say, given what we saw also in Boston, a slight lean toward OKC in terms of power rating for me.
Yeah, I think it depends, guys, on what model you're using. Yeah. I mean, I have a player-only model that uses Darko and estimated plus minus, and that'll tell you, just going by the players, that'll tell you a slight edge of the Celtics. If you go by a net rating or 4 factors adjusted to modernized basketball, that's going to tell you Cleveland, right? Because if you were dropped on planet Earth this year with no prior knowledge, you would think Cleveland's slightly better than Boston. But I don't know that I'm going to trust Cleveland. Now, they do get games 1, 2, 5, and 7 at home, so that's going to be a tremendous series. Are you going to trust that team, though, that's looked like a deer in the headlights over Boston? I know there's a lot of variance to consider when it comes to handicapping the Celtics because of all the three-point shooting. They could play themselves in and out of games. But I still think at the end of the day, if odds were even, we all would roll with the Celtics, would we not?
Yeah, I would say yes. At the end of the day, that would be the case in that dynamic. I wanted to stay in the conference, Tom, and get your thoughts. I like this Pistons team a lot, and I think that they're going to be a pain in the ass in the first round for the New York Knicks, should that be the meeting, and it looks like that's going to be the case. Where do you stand on that potential first-round matchup and the legitimacy of pushing the Knicks, who are very poor, we'll call it below average, on defense?
Yeah, they sure are. Boy, I'd love to be on your side. I would think the Knicks win it. Now, I'd have to see what that price looks like, of course. Look, you're right about the Knicks defensively, though. I mean, Jalen Brunson, as great as he is, he's not a great defender, nor is Karl Anthony Towns. So if they get a tall big, they're going to be another team that gets hunted down in these switches in the pick and rolls because, God forbid, anybody in the NBA try to fight through the picks. You know how that is. Everybody's got to, defend 1 through 5. And so I think the Knicks, even with the great Tom Thibodeau, are going to be at a disadvantage greatly on the defensive side. Plus, it's very hard to take them all that seriously anyway. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think they'll beat the Pistons. Let's wait to see what that series price looks like. But I don't think you could have them beating the Celtics or the Cavs. Every time they play these teams, with the exception of last night, and they're putting together a parade down the Avenue of Heroes in New York because they played Boston tough. I mean, that tells you all you need to know. They were losing games on average by like 15 points when playing Cleveland and Boston. I know it's still a relatively small sample size, but I don't know if the Knicks are that much closer to a championship compared to where they were just 1 year ago. And it starts with what you just talked about, JVT, the defensive end.
Tom Byrne joining us here, courtesy of our progressive guest line, part of the SiriusXM Mad Dog radio channel. You can follow him on social media at @1Tom BYRNE. You tweeted about it. I'm sure you'll be talking about it tonight as we get to see the Nuggets for the first time without Michael Malone there on the sidelines. Quite a wild situation unfolding there. Their tip-off is coming up at 7:10 Pacific time, Tom, against the Sacramento Kings. What do you expect from the Denver Nuggets moving forward in the postseason? Because as JVT pointed out, at the end of the day, they're always going to have the best player in the world on their team. Yep. But as we've seen quite a bit this year, he could drop 61 and they still could find a way to lose.
I could easily make an argument that they have Nikola Jokic, nobody else doesn't. Plus, they have a kid named Jamal Murray who steps up big time. Everybody talks about playoff Jimmy. Well, I've seen Jimmy bleep the bed, for lack of a better term, in some big spots, too, to be fair. I've rarely seen Jamal Murray. Once or twice. Jamal Murray has that innate ability to step up his game. Now, here's the issue. Is he going to play? So from that standpoint, I can't put too much stock in Denver right now. I got to get a little bit more information what's going on with his injury. But if I knew he was close to 100%, I would think Denver could still have the second-best chance in the West outside of Oklahoma City. I mean, they have the best play. Look, it doesn't matter that you can't go 9-10 into your bench when it comes to the postseason. I don't want a team that goes 9-10 into their bench more times than not, to be honest with you. So I hated the fire. He's one of the few guys in the league that had the balls to hold these guys accountable. There's nothing wrong with old-school coaching. Jokic allowed it, which speaks volumes about him, just like Duncan allowed Popovich to coach the way he needed to coach. There's a lot, and I hate to be the curmudgeon, but there's a lot to dislike about the NBA right now. And JVT will tell you this. I'm curious where you guys stand. I used to be on the grind on a nightly basis, NBA, every day, and I used to make a lot of money because I get ahead of the injury news. Now, a lot of those books are quicker, plus they'll limit you to pennies anyway. But I'm tired of chasing the injury news and keeping up with who's playing and who's not playing. I got 4 kids. I can't sit on my phone all freaking day. Nobody plays.
Good God, 4 kids, Tom.
I'm on the Major League Baseball grind. I'm doing baseball every freaking night now. Wake me up when the playoffs begin. I don't have so much time every day. JVT, you're a father. You know how it is. Same with you, Tim.
They
start Tuesday.
Yeah, and from father to father, congrats on having sex at least 4 times in your life. That's great. Really quickly, Western Conference. Actually, the last 90 seconds, let me ask you this. How much does your dude, you're distracting me. Sorry. How much does your opinion change when this bracket comes out by the time we get to Sunday? Like these Clippers, Warriors, Timberwolves, if they're on the opposite side of the Oklahoma City Thunder, will you come in future-wise and back one of them to win the West? How much does the finalized bracket change how you handle it?
I think it makes a difference because that's where you can't just be a slave to your model stat sheet, whatever you want to call it, right, and just go by your blind numbers because matchups are going to matter. So I'll take a look at that. And plus, I got to see what the prices are. I'm sure I'll be playing plenty of series prices and grinding the everyday, night to night, because people will play. So, not to dodge the question, but once I see what the bracket looks like, and we have no friggin' clue at the moment, and some of these matchups, I'll get a better feel. How about Minnesota, by the way, last night? Were either you two on that game? How did they blow that lead with still a lot to play for?
So we got 30 seconds, but I'll say this, Tom. One of our NBA guys, Zach, he not only was on the Timberwolves in that game, he also had the Knicks money line as well.
Good
so it was quite the night.
That's a rough one.
And I was mad about Houston blowing that lead on Monday night. Tom, appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you soon.
The Stars losing last night in the NHL might have been worse. Talk soon, fellas. Anytime.
See you, man.
Canucks scored 3 goals in the final minute. There's no doubt. That's JVT. I'm Tim Murray. Ooh, we got a tweet from the great Paul Bovey. We'll tell you about it next.
This is VSiN Primetime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It is VSiN Primetime, our game of the night. Well, our first game of the night, the Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers have a 99-93 lead over the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic, 31 first-half points. His player prop pre-flop, 30.5. And LeBron James now makes it 101-93. So LeBron starting to come to life here in the second half a bit. Point spread, Lakers -7.5 against the Mavericks. Mavericks went on a run when Luka Doncic was on the floor, on the bench. Mavericks took a lead, and since Luka has been reinserted into the lineup, they have regained said lead. 101-93, 4:42 to go. LeBron James now with 25 points in this contest. Luka Doncic, 38 in his return. That's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Tim Murray. We're going to get to the game starting in the 7 o'clock Pacific hour, 10 o'clock Eastern hour. But Paul Bovey, the great Paul Bovey, has chimed in on Twitter, and he said, if Luka's defense is that bad, and I think he was referring to maybe Tom Byrne, in his answer just a moment ago regarding the trust factor of the Lakers, why is his net rating blowing away that of LeBron's, who is a net negative when he is on the court? Time to refocus.
He's calling out Tom Byrne, huh?
I guess.
I would ask Paul Bovey to go watch Luka Doncic play defense with his eyeballs. Well, you know better than that, Paul. Also, I mean, net rating is.
What was the game the other
rating.
night? Oh, God, where Luka just, they just blew,
the
blew
Pacers,
by.
go watch the end of the Pacers game where Tyrese Halliburton ate his lunch on like 2 straight possessions to get to the bucket with relative ease. That might have been the one you were referring to. We watched, I think we were we on the air together?
Game? Maybe it was the Bull. I can't remember.
Luka's not a great defender. He's not like Trae Young levels, especially at the beginning of his year, of his career, but he's a below average defender, especially at the point of attack. He can get blown by with relative ease. Net rating is to bring that up. I think it's not the way to do it, especially when you're talking about still inherently a small sample size with him on the team. He is right. I mean, LeBron James, it's a weird aspect of what the season is. LeBron James this season actually has been a net negative on the floor for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Well, their overall team rating is not what they've outscored their opponents by 1.5 points per game.
Yeah. And oddly enough, I think they're losing quite a bit. Their record against Eastern Conference teams have been poor. But I'll say this, this is where I really like numbers a lot, but I also like to think that I do have, I'm not married to them. The numbers would tell you that when LeBron James is on the floor, the Lakers net rating gets worse by 8.2 points every 100 possessions. For an individual player, that is in the 13th percentile. That's abysmal. That would tell you that he is one of the worst players in the league, and I think that we know that that's not really the case. Just one of those years where you're looking at it, and the time in which he's been on the floor has not been overly effective. But if the Lakers were to lose LeBron James, I don't think you would say that they get better. No.
Well, they lost him for a little bit, and that was not great.
Right.
They had Luka, and that helped. The Lakers, that's what's going to be so fascinating by the playoffs this year. Outside of the Thunder, and the Thunder have never really done it. There's a lot of questions about a bunch of these teams, right, in the Western Conference. But the Lakers right now with a lead with 4:42 to go. And on the road at Dallas, the pre-flop number was 4.5. Lakers right now in game a 7.5-point favorite. They lead 101-93 over the Dallas Mavericks. Anthony Davis, by the way, I think Nico Harrison is there, and he's kind of hiding in the tunnel. As we've seen him pictured at this contest. Anthony Davis, 13 points so far, does have 11 boards and 6 assists, but Luka Doncic, I would say, so far having the best of the trade as he has 38 points and is a plus 19 rating, or plus minus here this evening. So game winding down 4.5 minutes ago, Lakers with a 101-93 lead against the Dallas Mavericks. Still to come tonight, JVT, our other game of the night, and one that you are very intrigued by, the Denver Nuggets. Their first game without Michael Malone. They are a 4.5-point favorite. Total 234 against the Sacramento Kings. The Kings, we know they will be in the play-in portion of the Western Conference playoffs, but they have no chance to get out of said play-in. They are locked in there at 39 and 40, more than likely going to be the 9 seed. I guess Dallas could ultimately jump them, but Dallas now down 10 as LeBron James gets another bucket there for the Los Angeles Lakers to make it 103 to 93. So still to come, our other game of the night, game that you're very much looking forward to, JVT.
Yeah, it took 4.5 with the Kings, so let's see if they can stay inside of this number. I just think it's a little too extreme. I understand, I guess, to an extent here, but look, we've seen this Nuggets team falter many times and in better situations for them as well. Now to go on the road against the Sacramento Kings team that still has seeding to play for and a defense that has been less than stellar. I don't think that I would trust the Nuggets to cover this kind of a number. It's a high total, so maybe wait in game for a more bloated, I should say, number. But I think 4.5 is a little bridge too far, so I took 4.5 with the Sacramento Kings tonight. Stay inside of it.
Still to come, we've got a handful of other games, so good late night slate, at least, well, with games. On paper, maybe preseason, we thought these would be pretty good games. You made the good point, though. How about the ESPN doubleheader tonight where we get the return of Luka to Dallas and the first game after Mike Malone gets fired?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I was saying, you were saying earlier today regarding the ESPN good fortune that they get Lakers Dallas in the return of Luka and the first game of Michael Malone after he gets fired.
I think it's fixed.
The fix is in.
Yep.
San Antonio, Golden State. This is the biggest.
Rigged. Sorry, he has the better term. It's all rigged.
This is the biggest spread of the night, and the Golden State Warriors are a 17-point favorite, 17.5 at some shops out there, JVT. So the Warriors trying to get up to as high as number 3 in the Western Conference. Lakers right now putting the finishing touches on the Dallas Mavericks, so they would have a 2-game lead with 2 games to go and the tiebreaker. So it looks like it's going to be challenging for the Warriors to get to that number 3 spot, but as we pointed out a number of times here on the show tonight, got to keep winning, man, in that Western Conference if you want to avoid the play-in.
Big favorite, 17.5 tonight, total 233.5. We talked about it. I mean, I know some of these big spreads, it's tempting to just, hey, chalk it up. We'll go. They're going to blow them out, but might not be the actual case, as we've seen some big dogs bark in the last few days. So I wonder if they can cover this. This will be a pretty interesting game to track, especially after they went out and absolutely smoked the Suns yesterday and dropped, 139 points on them yesterday, I think was the number that the Warriors eventually dropped.
133.
133, okay.
Beat them 133 to 95. Is that good?
It is very good.
What was that? Luka Doncic just had a ridiculous reverse layup. He's now at 40, 105-93, and the Lakers are going to get a big win over the Dallas Mavericks here tonight.
I should also mention, I think this is also a 7 o'clock tip. It might be 7:30. Oh, no, it's 7:30. But if you weren't looking, the Clippers will not have Norm Powell tonight. So if you saw that kind of come off that 10.5, you're wondering why. Some spots down to 9.5. No Norm Powell this evening.
Well, speaking of the Phoenix Suns, who got curb stomped last night, 133 to 95 JVT. They're back at it tonight at home, catching 7.5. And I believe with a loss, they would officially be eliminated from playoff contention. 35-44, currently 3 games back of the Mavericks, who are about to lose to the Lakers as that game is winding down there with under 3 minutes to go.
I missed this.
What did we miss?
How about this? Somebody is offering, I think this is Chris Massaro.
Yeah, it's the great Chris Massaro.
Chris Massaro texting in and saying that I'm going to hold him to this. That if it's OKC and LA, the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals, he will take me to the Intuit Dome.
Oh, there you go.
I'm in.
You might need the Lakers to win a couple more games on the run line.
I'm about to finagle some favors here because I also told Patrick Maher that he has to take me to a Clippers game, and he reluctantly approved. So if I can get both Massaro and Maher right in the same trip, I mean, I could go watch 2 Clippers games for free.
I mean, I think this would make up for the reverse mushing.
No.
Massaro, you were going pretty hard on there on old social media. Wasn't he on Saturday night, or was he more on Monday night?
Oh, I thought you were talking about. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the reverse mush of one Mitch Moss on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about all of that, or the other one, which was Massaro alleged that I reverse mushed him on like the 4th week of the contest, 3rd week of the contest, the Ohio State Indiana game. Where on live bet Saturday, like 5 minutes in, because I had Indiana and Ohio State was his best bet. And I was like, Indiana's cooked. I'm done here. And they eventually came back and won that. I think they went on an 11-0 run over the last like 3 minutes to eventually win that game.
Massaro got all mad at me one night because he was on the show. I forget who he was cheering for to finish third in the football contest, and he got mad at me that I almost mushed him. Didn't happen. You still got third in the contest there, Mr. Massaro. By the way, he was going a little too hard on old X there on the national championship night with his Florida side of things. All right, Nikola Jokic and company about to hit the floor there in Sacramento. The Lakers up by 12 over the Dallas Mavericks with 2 and change to go. Luka Doncic well over his total of 30.5 with 40 points. Hey, just a reminder, Derek Stevens hooking you guys up. You can right now get 15% off Circa, the D, Golden Gate. Use this promo code VSiN15 when you head on over to circalasvegas.com as Luka Doncic buries a 3. And as Steve Buckhantz, former Wizards broadcaster, would say, that would be your dagger. 43 points for Luka. Lakers up 14 on the Dallas Mavericks. It's all she wrote in Dallas.